And now it's time. I said and now I said it's time. And now for something completely machinima. And now for something completely machinima. And now for something almost entirely, very precisely, but just not exclusively, sort of adjacently, kind of approximately, complete mesh enigma. And now for something completely mesh enigma. And now for
Hello and welcome to And Now for Something Completely Machinima, a podcast about machinima, virtual production, and related technologies. My name's Phil Rice, and I'm here with my co-hosts Damien Valentine.
Hello.
And Tracy Harwood.
Hello.
Ricky is not here. He got stuck at a self-checkout arguing with the machine. But he'll be back with us in a future episode. This week we are talking about Tracy's pick, which is a Red Dead Redemption 2 film called Arthur. Tracy, tell us about it.
Absolutely, yeah. Arthur by Charles Louis, it's a couple of years old now. It was released in October 2021. Okay, so this film took the creator 6 months to make, clearly on the back end of the pandemic, clearly having spent quite a lot of time in the game, basically using all the in-game cinematics and a camera mod by, I want to say Jotrius, which I'll put a link to on the show notes. It's on Nexus Mods, which is basically a camera mod. Okay, so how can I sum this film up? Basically, I think it's a Red Dead Redemption 2 example of post-traumatic stress disorder. I suppose would that be the perfect way to describe it? If RDR2 could do post-traumatic stress disorder, this would be it. Okay. Super interestingly, it's been endorsed by Roger Clark, who plays Arthur Morgan in the game. And as I understand it, Arthur's character has kind of a moral code. I mean, you guys have played this. I haven't. He's got basically a moral code that he abides by, which is along the lines of killing unnecessarily is a strictly no-go area. And it's that aspect of the character and his many regrets for a life ungainfully lived in the game that I think is very evident in this. It's a story told in 3 parts, or I want to say 3 acts. The first being his criminal or bad deeds. The second is his recognition of regrets. And the third is his search for redemption and ultimately his demise. And to accompany those acts, and the way they are delineated is actually through his selection, or the creator's selection of musical choices. So for the first part, he's used John the Revelator by Curtis Stigers and the Forest Rangers, which is a song all about the Book of Revelation and the opening of the 7 seals, resulting in this kind of series of apocalyptic events, very much in the tradition of American spirituals, I believe. And it really aligns very well with the all hell let loose scenes that you see being played out in the cinematics in the game that this creator has selected to illustrate that. In the second part, the choice of song is Wonderful Life by Smith and Burroughs, which is obviously a sentimental song, but again sits really well with the portrayal of Arthur's regrets. It's a song about loneliness and longing for companionship, the importance of friends and so on. And the shots you see are the folks he's left standing or those he's picked up from a fall of one sort or another. And then for the third act, the creator uses the Dead Island trailer theme by Giles Lamb, which was originally made for the Dead Island game, of course, which was about a family who is attacked by zombies. Now, the song is basically a reflection of what matters when it comes down to it, and is about the celebration of belonging and connections and home and so on. And it's again a really excellent fit for the end portrayed in this short. I will just make a few comments about Arthur's characterization by Roger Clark because I was perhaps a little surprised by what his inspiration was for the character. Have you got any ideas before I go into this?
I don't think so.
No.
No? Have you heard of Toshiro Mifune? He's a Japanese actor.
Okay.
He's often plays this imperfect samurai and a kind of, he's basically a failure. But at the same time, he's also quite sexy with the way he goes about, portraying whatever it is he's portraying. And he's an actor that has this sort of a whole series of characters in a similar kind of vein. They were not typical hero characters. They were grumpy and accident prone, even lazy, but also deadly in the delivery of fighting actions, so to speak. And it's that the character is those are the specific characteristics that Clark wanted to portray in Arthur. And I think what's really evident in this particular short is how he achieved that kind of delivery. It's easy to see, therefore, why I think the actor appreciated the short. I think it's also an interesting character vignette from the game, which is something that can only really be achieved with machinima in the way that this has been done. So I think I would say overall, my analysis of it is it's a little bit long in places, feels a bit repetitive and long. But I think that's because the creator wanted to let the music drive the story. They were obviously pre-recorded songs that he's selected, and he's clearly selected the shots to match the music, which I think is clearer in some parts than in others. And I suppose I could say, yes, he could have made it shorter. Would that change the overall feel of the outcome? No, I don't think it probably would have made that much difference. So, does it really matter? I'm not sure it actually does. I think it works quite well as it is, or at least that's my evaluation of it. What do you think?
I think you're right. It is a bit long, but it wasn't in a I really wish it was over kind of way. It just felt like there's a lot to this.
Hmm.
But when you're making a music video and you've chosen a song or two, you're kind of stuck with that because if you start editing the song, unless you know exactly what you're doing, it's going to sound like you've chopped out that bit because suddenly the music will change.
Hmm.
You have to find the exact right bit to cut and the exact next bit to match it up to, and that's really hard. So yeah, you can't really cut songs down. Um, but I think this footage is sort of a mix. I believe it's cutscenes. I haven't actually played the game, but it's a mix of cutscenes
Hmm.
and actual gameplay footage.
Yeah.
Is that right, Phil?
Yes, overwhelmingly cutscenes.
Okay.
They're
Um,
all rendered within the course of gameplay, yes, but the
yeah.
vast majority are uh, pre-scripted cinematics. Yeah.
I was going to think that because I remember what you and Ricky have said in the past about just how hard it is to make something with this game. And I had a moment to think, how did he do that? Oh, it's the cutscenes. But that's
Hmm.
fine. He's used the cutscenes really well. And he has mixed in some actual gameplay footage. I imagine he must have captured that himself. Um, like I said, I haven't played the game, so I only know bits and pieces about the character of Arthur from listening to other people who have played it. But it feels like this video captures, the important themes of his life. I'm not going to say important moments of his life, but a lot about his life and the way he lives it, the things that have happened to him, the
Hmm.
things he's having to deal with, like the aftermath of these things. And it also captures the tone of the game as well.
Hmm.
So it's very much a celebration of the character, the main character that you play, Arthur. Um, it's extremely well done. even though it's long, it doesn't matter so much. It works. It's edited so well, and the scenes that were chosen do match the song perfectly. Um, and you get the real sense of who this character is. Um, it's hard to, without actually playing the game, it's hard for me to say too much else about it because I'm not that familiar. But from the technical side of things, I was really impressed by this. So I had a look at his channel. He's done a Cyberpunk video, which I believe we've talked about in the past.
Mhm.
And so I have played that game,
Mhm.
and that's just as well made as this one.
Mhm.
So it made me appreciate this one more because he's put the same amount of effort into the Cyberpunk video, which I am familiar with that game. I can tell that he's done the same thing for this one, and it shows.
Mhm.
Yeah, he's a spectacular editor.
Hmm.
That's the above all else, the skill that shines here is in in the broadest understanding of the word, an edit. I'm talking about the decisions and then the execution of those decisions in the editing process. It's an immense challenge, similar to what we were discussing. I don't remember if it was on air or off air. We were talking about some of the challenges of making a movie out of a game like Elden Ring.
Hmm.
There were numerous things we talked about, but one of them was the expanse of that gameplay is so large, that story is so long that the thought of compressing it down to a feature film length, that's a big challenge. Very similar kind of challenge here in, even with the length this was, the gameplay, I think the fastest you can legitimately complete this game if you're not trying to do a speed run is, and this is at a bare minimum, 12 hours.
Oh,
And it might even be like, I think the typical person's gameplay is closer to 20 to live out the full story of Arthur. And it is not, I don't mean 20 hours of just riding around the plains. There's a lot of scenes, a lot of interactions, a lot of conversations, a lot of cutscenes that aren't
You,
really cutscenes. They're like built right in, right?
you got to factor in, dying and having to replay sections as well.
Yeah, yeah. This is assuming you don't ever die, which frankly, if you don't die the first time on the snowy mountainside when the wolves come, then you're a better man than I. So yeah, the point is it's a quite a long story. It would be like trying to, hey, let's make, well, I can't even think of an example. I was gonna use Star Wars as an example and say, but I can't think of a character that lived, maybe Yoda
Yeah, 900
lived
years.
lived through the first 6 episodes of Star Wars. And it's like, all right, summarize Yoda, but Yoda wasn't the main character.
Well,
you know,
summarize his 900 years in a 5-minute video.
right. It's that type of challenge. So, um, editing wise, it's spectacular work. And the key is that this was not just, sometimes people, when they hear editing, they think, oh, you just trim it down and see what fits together, whatever. No, this was editing with a narrative in mind.
Mhm.
Now, the narrative lines up with the narrative of the game. Like, there's nothing that deviates from that at all. So he had a guidebook, so to speak, but this is efficiently compressed. And yeah, it's hard to imagine. Okay, so let me divert just a bit here. Musically, all three of the songs were excellent choices lyrically, but there's the stylistically, the songs are different enough from each other that for me, and maybe this is just me because I'm a music person, right? But it kind of felt a little disjointed.
Mhm.
That for me, I would have loved a 15-minute video that was all in the style of that first song, which you're right about the origins of, Tracy. It's American blues, the original blues.
Mhm.
I don't know if either of you have got the chance to see the movie Sinners,
Not yet.
which is,
No.
yeah, you want to see it, and that movie is just steeped in music from that era, like, I mean, original blues, and it's just wonderful. There's a point in the movie, which I won't spoil, but there's a point in the movie where it goes kind of on this wild ride musically, that I'll be interested to hear what either of you think of it when you see it,
Mhm.
because it's yeah, I've never seen it done quite that way in a movie before. But generally speaking, there's a consistent thread throughout, even though it's different artists who recorded these songs at different time periods, and some of them were probably recorded specifically for the movie. But there's a cohesion between all of them to where when you hear that sound, or if someone were to describe what's the sound of the Sinners soundtrack, it's the sound that we hear in this first song.
Right. Hmm.
And then the other two, just tonally and texture wise, are just so different that I think I don't know. I'm trying to think of like how would I have handled that if I had determined those are the three songs I need, but they don't fit together. It's almost like it might have been served by a some kind of a chapter marker in those breaks, like
Hmm.
between the acts,
Hmm.
to where there's a time to just pause and then okay, now we're starting to tell this part of the story. Whereas he kind of told it where just one just kind of flowed into the other pretty
Yeah,
much.
that's right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so as a result, those borders between these different types of music, for me, it was a little bit abrasive there. But lyrically, no question about it. They lined up with the story that was being told. Um, there's been a lot of talk out there in game press over the years about just how rich a character Arthur is. And this is a nice sampler of that. But yeah, he is a conflicted man. He uh, he's done terrible things and made really questionable decisions, and yet his story continually puts him in these positions where other people uh, are dependent on him or that can lean on him. And it's even beyond just the fact that he has a code, which is I mean, mafia guys have a code, so that itself isn't what elevates him, but it's the fact that uh, you can play the game a different way and play him as a very dark, unhelpful, you know, uh, miscreant. But the way most people play the game and the way that it kind of, I think, wants you to play him is that he's this guy willing to do very bad things, but somewhere in there is a heart of gold. That's such a cliche, but that's what I mean,
Mm, mm, mm.
you know? And so, uh, as someone who has a conscience, as he reaches the end of his life and as he starts to face his own mortality, and his mortality is coming sooner than he wants, starts to question, was it worth it? Some of those bad things I had to do, and he doesn't really have a firm answer on that. It's wonderful, you don't normally see that kind of depth. That
Mhm.
kind of depth of character is really hard to capture in a feature film.
Yeah.
Like even if all your time is spent with that character, that's a big story to tell. That's a life. That's a life story. So again, big respect for the person as an editor to even take that on as a task. There's
Mm.
so much to choose from in footage for this.
Well, I think
Um,
the other thing is you have to be very familiar with all of the choices you can have. So
Mm.
he must have played this game through several times,
many times,
plus an extra
yes,
time to actually go back and capture the footage that he actually wanted.
right, right.
Mm.
Yeah, there's an immense amount of work to because he's not showing everything in sequence, like not even close to that.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's jumping around as it needs to. That is, it's an amazing achievement. So yeah, the pure machinima guy in me is just like, well, you just captured cutscenes, but come on, folks, he did more than that, way more than that. It's a different type of task than you know uh, manipulating player characters and trying to tell your own story or whatever. No disrespect to that at all. That's what machinima is at its core, right? This is a different type of work, but uh, it's not any less effort to try and basically sculpt this out of someone else's extremely long and expansive story. And there's no better character in video games that he could have chosen to do this for, in my opinion.
Mm.
Like, I mean, Arthur is one of the greatest most well-developed video game characters of all time. And that's even comparing him to characters who were developed over, like Solid Snake or someone like that, who was developed over a series of a whole bunch of games. But no, this is, yeah. So it was a great choice for the filmmaker to. I can see why this character captured his attention, because it's there's moments in this game where if you have any human sensitivity at all, it'll just about bring you to tears. It's a really compelling, heartbreaking story. No matter how you play the game, it is a heartbreaking story, and rooted in relatable human emotion. And the fact that that was achieved with a video game is the same genre that brought us Lara Croft, which Lara Croft is fun to play, but you don't get that depth out of the Tomb Raider games, right? They really couldn't. Maybe some of the later ones they try to do that.
Yeah.
But this was Arthur always. This was Arthur all along. It's just, yeah. So that's my take on it. It's kind of a mixed bag a little bit, I guess, but I really, really respect the work. I can't even imagine the amount of work that was involved in the decision-making part of things. And because there's so much to choose from. So
I got the same impression from the Cyberpunk video he did.
Really?
Wow. Cyberpunk doesn't really have cutscenes like this. There are moments where
they're all integrated, aren't they? They're all
so
right
you're
there.
still getting the character's perspective. It's just a moment of you lose control of your character and you watch what's happening. But most of the footage in the Cyberpunk video is actual gameplay, because that's the way the game plays out. But it still requires a huge amount of work because it's another equally huge game. There's a lot to see and do. So
what do you reckon a full playthrough of Cyberpunk is? If you're not rushing, if you're not speed running, it's many hours. Yeah.
Yeah. I think I spent
got to
about
be at least
30
12.
hours.
Okay. Yeah. I have not played through that one. But the 30 wouldn't surprise me. And then on top of that, if you do the expansion,
which I haven't got to that yet. I need to play the expansion. So I played the original game on the PS4. The expansion wasn't released for that, so I had to create a new character and progress through the game to the point where the expansion opens up to you. I've just got to that bit, but I haven't had enough time to actually play it properly.
Well, great comments. Thank you very much.
Yeah, thanks for the pick.
I can see why he's only done 2 videos, because if he puts this much work into each one, I can see why he hasn't got a third one out just yet.
Yeah.
He's probably working on it now.
I hope so. I'd like to see more from him.
All right. Well, that's the pick for this week. Really good pick, Tracy. Thank you. I don't know why this one. I search for Red Dead Redemption stuff a lot, and I don't know why the algorithm didn't deliver this one up to me, but I'm glad that you did, because it's one that I wouldn't have wanted to miss. It's quite good. So yeah, that's our discussion for this week. If you have any questions or comments for us, drop us an email at talk@completelymachinima.com, or leave us a comment wherever you see this video or hear this podcast. So on behalf of my co-hosts, Tracy Harwood and Damien Valentine, have a great day.
Bye.
Bye-bye.